everyone. Thank you very much for coming. And now we're moving to another section of the change makers. And I want to start with a question. Who of you have heard LSE is all about investment banking or consulting? Yeah. So some people say that, and one of the main reasons why we decided to conduct the study of the scope and relevance of career guidance at the LSE. And it's me, my friend Konrad, who I'm going to be here. So kind of all right. To give you a broader idea, we decided to conduct this research. It came basically from our daily conversations we had with our friends, who, unsurprisingly, have actually quite broad ideas about what they want to do, but many of them are very not familiar with what the school LSE carries, which is like a school-wide career guidance. Unit and Department of Management carries alumni and employee relations team, which provides tailored advice to our students, has to offer. So this kind of led us to the first idea about our research. So we wanted to kind of find out what students actually want from those career services. And secondly, through literature review, we found that researchers champion career development of students, an important aspect of university education, but it needs to be well fitted. While interviewing a lot of department and school staff, we found it really hard to get reliable and broader feedback from students about what they actually need. So this was the second idea, and we knew we not only need to know what students are actually looking for, but also what was currently being delivered is working, how it's working for them. So this allowed us to move to the main stage of our research, data collection and data analysis. For data collection, we conducted a survey, and we had the pleasure to attend compulsory BSc management mentoring meetings, which allowed us to gather a really good 171 responses, which is about a third of all BSc management students. We're really happy about it. And this survey was basically divided into 3 sections: students' background, 10 students' familiarity and their current history of participation with career guidance, and lastly, their subjective experience about the offer. And for the analysis, we use both qualitative and qualitative methods, which for quantitative, we focus on statistical tests to find relevant relations between students' background and how they rate and see their service. And for qualitative, we synthesized the open-ended questions where students provided further ideas how it can be improved. So in terms of findings, I want to maybe show the highlights. And we have a poster up here, so up there, I guess, which you will be able to see and find more about what we researched. So first section is about what the students actually want to do. And BSc management, it seems, are actually quite corporate focused. So corporate jobs, we classified all jobs like banking, consulting, law, the ones you do on a very high floors on those city skyriders. And it turns out that there isn't a relation between students' parent, occupation, or education, or their home status when it comes to their preferences, but the main factors that explain why students choose corporate or entrepreneurship or other roles are their gender and their year. And as you can see, women are actually much more eager to pursue corporate jobs. And more interestingly, out of the students we questioned, second-year students say much more often that they want to pursue corporate jobs, which falls very sharply in the third year. So there may be something about those second-year internships, which I can speak from my experience as well. And this is a main explaining factor. Then when it comes to overall ratings, we found that students rate the career offer generally quite well, moderately well, I would say. The average was 6.5 out of 0 to 10 scale. And the most important factor here that moderated this is, as you can see, that at least one of the students' parents has a corporate job, and those students rate the career lower. So there may be a reason, well, in a further stage, we're gonna explain maybe why, as the career may be tailored more towards students who need the basic information, which those students who have parents in corporate jobs can already get from their family. And for the familiarity section, we found the students are generally quite familiar with anything. So 85% of students identified that they know at least about one of the types of events and support that the school has to offer, but then going more deeply into specific types of support, we found that there is actually quite low familiarity with specific types of events, and even some students suggested in open-ended questions already existing support as an idea to improve the career service. So there is a clear issue with familiarity of some specific support options. And lastly, we asked about other sources of information that students have, and we found that they apart from university career guidance, and we found that it's usually their friends or family or social media they gather career information from. So this also will be included in our recommendation. And now moving to recommendations section, we divided this into more general recommendations and specific recommendations for LSE careers and car unit. And when it comes to our recommendations, we focused on the low familiarity, as students rate their career guidance relatively high, and also students who already attended some of the events find it actually much more relevant and better than students who never attended. So they may have scrolled through what's available and they understand it's not for them, but once students actually go to those events, they find them actually quite useful. So first idea would be mandatory introductory sessions. So maybe in the first year, some students could be offered some type of an event or maybe mandatory session when someone from careers or the career unit comes and explains what is available at the school to increase its familiarity. Secondly, we would like to students would like to see more of events addressing those alternative routes. As you can see, students in the third year actually want to pursue other than corporate jobs, and also students who identify as wanting to pursue corporate jobs find the offer much more relevant. So maybe introduction of more events of about those alternative career paths could help them understand earlier, and also will be more tailored to those third year students who do not want to pursue banking or consulting. And lastly, seeing a lot of students actually take inspiration from their friends and family, we see an opportunity here to possibly introduce more of kind of like friend-induced career guidance. So this could be any like refer a friend scheme, or maybe some events that incentivize networking and friend making to kind of gather all those good information from their friends. And when it comes to the specific recommendations, we believe for LSE careers we've seen that there's quite a good familiarity, but students are somewhat overwhelmed with what is offered. So something like customizable newsletter could be a good idea, where students can choose what types of information they want to receive, and then they'll be more eager to actually read the newsletter rather than skip it in their mailbox. And for Doncar, we found that there is much lower familiarity with all types of events. So here, more online activity as students use social media as an important source of information could be a better way to at least give them general idea what is available and for. And for lastly, final limitations of our studies, we believe that the most critical limitation is the cross-sectionality of the study. As students in their first, second, and third year respectively, we don't know if some of those differences are not some inherent differences between the cohorts, and further research idea could be to, or maybe future trend makers, to do more of a longitudinal study where we follow one group throughout the years. And secondly, some of specific students with specific backgrounds were very underrepresented, and we couldn't get any statistically significant results from those groups. So here's an idea for more qualitative research, like focus groups, to find out what they could really need. And this concludes the presentation. So thank you very much. I would like to really thank everybody who also supported us throughout our research, all the staff that we had a pleasure to interview, and our academic advisor, Daniela, who's been super supportive throughout the yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Leela, who's going to be talking about the different ways that socioeconomic background can affect students' experiences in the Department of Sociology. So while you're coming up, I'll switch the slide. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Leela, and my research project looks at the experiences of postgraduate students in the Department of Sociology with regards to socioeconomic backgrounds, part-time work, and career prospects. So I was motivated to pick this topic firstly for a personal reason, as I felt frustrated by not having the time to engage in career building activities as I was already working part-time in retail for financial reasons. Secondly, I was curious about how dynamics such as part-time work might contribute to perpetuating the inequalities linked to students' socioeconomic backgrounds, and how LSE is helping or could help to ensure students have equal opportunities during their studies to build up their future career profile. This is in line with LSE's 2030 strategy, notably its commitment to ensuring LSE works for everyone, including a need to address systematic inequalities. So I sought to answer two main research questions in this project. Firstly, how does socioeconomic background affect students' undertaking of part-time work during their studies? And secondly, how do students feel about the support and opportunities offered by the LSE to advance their future career prospects? So I adopted a mixed methods approach to answer these questions. I started by doing some background research on the opportunities available through the LSE. And then I complemented that by meeting with a consultant from LSE Careers to understand the careers services approach to the matter. I then conducted a survey amongst postgraduate students in the sociology department, to which I received 54 responses, including 45 completed answers, which is about 20% of the postgrad cohort in the department. And then I decided to complement that quantitative data with qualitative data by conducting 6 semi-structured interviews with students who had previously completed the survey. So in looking at students' socioeconomic backgrounds, survey respondents were asked to select their socioeconomic class out of upper class, upper middle, middle, lower middle, working class, and other. So as class can be an ambiguous category, respondents were equally asked a number of questions related to different socioeconomic indicators. And in order to provide more clarity to my findings, I grouped respondents into 2 categories that reflected these answers. So the first is students of lower socioeconomic backgrounds, and the second is students of higher socioeconomic backgrounds. Results showed that students from a lower socioeconomic background were overall less financially supported by people such as family, friends, and partners. 55% of them were not at all to slightly financially reliant on others, whereas 72.7% of those from a higher background were moderately to entirely financially reliant on others. Furthermore, 60% of lower background students had taken out a loan and 50% had a scholarship, compared to 45.5% of higher background students having a loan and 24.2% having a scholarship. And we can observe a correlation between these indicators of financial need and whether students work part-time or not. So we see that 65% of students from a lower socioeconomic background currently work part-time, compared to only 21.2% of those from a higher background. I also asked whether students had previously worked part-time and since stopped, but the difference between the 2 groups was pretty negligible. And finally, 63.6% of students from a higher background had never worked part-time during their studies, including undergraduate level, compared to only 20% of lower background students having never worked. So we therefore see that students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds are significantly more likely to have worked or to be working part-time during their studies. Now, not only are they more likely to work part-time, but my results also show that the type of work undertaken by students is affected by the need to work for financial reasons. Interviewees indicated that the financial necessity to work pushes them to seek jobs that are readily available and will provide a reliable source of income, such as jobs in hospitality or retail. at the expense of maybe spending longer periods of time job searching for a better position, or taking a job that would have lower wages and fewer hours, but be more professionally beneficial. This corresponded with survey results. A quarter of students from higher socioeconomic backgrounds said they were working because they wanted to, without needing to financially, whereas no lower socioeconomic background students said the same. And then in turn, students from a lower background, out of them, 92.9% said that they were working in an area completely unrelated to their field of postgraduate study, compared to 58.3% of high background students saying the same. A second principal finding amongst students working part-time out of financial necessity was that they feel their part-time work limits them from engaging in other activities alongside their studies, which would be beneficial or more beneficial to their career prospects. All interviewees working part-time and 68% of survey respondents agreed with this. 3 other such activities were determined. The first is volunteering. 75% of survey respondents who had previously volunteered said it was beneficial for their career prospects, and interviewees stated a desire to volunteer but a lack of time to do so. The second activity was internships. 87.5% of respondents who had done an internship believed it was valuable for their future career aspirations, and 71.4% of students who had both interned and worked part-time said that their internships had been more valuable than their part-time work for their career prospects. The third activity is thinking and planning for a future career, including engaging with the LSE career service, researching careers, and applying for jobs. An interviewee stated the following: if I didn't have to work, I could focus much more on a strategic approach to my full-time career. Because of this economic necessity, long-term, I think I'm disadvantaged. Now, the third part of my findings are largely based on qualitative data, looking at students' perceptions of the support, guidance, and opportunities offered to them through the LSE. So students expressed a general appreciation for the services offered by LSE careers, such as one-on-one appointments and CV checks. However, interviewees overwhelmingly felt that the support and guidance offered was not specifically tailored enough to them. This includes feeling that LSE careers does not help students who need immediate part-time work out of financial necessity, but also that the events, opportunities, and information shared with them were insufficient and often not related enough to their career interests and their fields in the Department of Sociology. Interviewees and survey respondents alike expressed frustration at what they perceived to be a prioritization by both LSE and LSE careers of fields such as law, finance, business, consulting, and that this is reflected in the types of opportunities, say, advertised on Career Hub, or the number of events held related to these fields. As put by one interviewee, it's more about the LSE without the political science. So to conclude, my findings largely confirmed my hypothesis that students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds feel disadvantaged by having to work part-time, as they often undertake roles which aren't related to what they want to do, and they take up time which prevents them from engaging in other professionally beneficial activities. Students in the Department of Sociology equally feel that there is a lack of tailored careers advice and support offered through the LSE, the negative effects of which may be compounded for lower socioeconomic backgrounds who already feel that they don't have the time to prepare and plan for their careers in their own time. And this is beyond the scope of my project, but I think it's also worth considering to what extent the shortcomings of LSE's career services as perceived by the students is maybe a reflection of labour markets, or to what extent it's a matter of LSE's responsibility in the resources it offers students. So my recommendations based on the findings are the following. Firstly, to offer more tailored support to students searching for part-time work out of immediate financial need. Secondly, organize workshops and promote resources to guide students in highlighting the value of their part-time work experience. So for example, emphasizing the transferable soft skills that they've acquired when they may lack sector-specific hard skills and knowledge. Thirdly, hold more varied events and share more information relevant to students in the Department of Sociology, particularly promoting engagement with third sector employers. Fourthly, offer postgraduate students more paid positions within the LSE related to their fields. I think Changemakers is a great example of such an initiative, but also the Department of Sociology has research internship opportunities that are currently limited to undergraduate students. And I think something like that should be extended to the postgraduate cohorts. And finally, offer funding for students undertaking unpaid internships during their studies, as, for example, the Departments of International Relations and Social Policy currently do through their internship fund scheme. So, yeah, that's the end. Thank you, changemakers, and thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. So now we're going to go on to our final presentation for this panel, which is from Lois and Maria Carlotta, who are joining us online. Let me just stop the share. Oh, yes, I can see you, Maria. Would you like to unmute yourself and share your slides?
Yes, the problem is that I don't have the option to share my slides.
All participants should be able to.
And I've talked to Lois and he doesn't have the option either, so.
That's okay, no problem. It might be a Zoom issue. Let me see if I can get yours up.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
You would just have to say to me when to change on to the next slide, though, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yes, perfect.
There you go. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
I'll mute myself and hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. My name is Lois and I'm here with Maria. We are both students at the European Institute at the LSE. And we are very happy to be here presenting our results, our findings of the project that we have been conducted in relation to the Language Center, LSE Language Center. And the title of this study and of this presentation is Breaking Barriers and Boosting Engagement: What limits access and engagement with peer-led language learning at the LSE Language Center. So if we go to the next slide, I will let you know a bit about the structure that we're going to follow. First, I will start with a brief introduction about why we thought that it was important to address the topic that related to the language center that I'm going to explain just now. Then Maria will continue a bit with the methodology that we have employed. I will resume them, summarize the key findings, and Maria will end with some policy recommendations. So we continue. Basically, when we started to think about what project we could propose to the LSE Changemakers program, we thought that it was like a bit striking in our perception that the LSE community was very diverse. The students are coming from over 140 countries. And at the same time, we were aware that there were some free services at the LSE Language Center, free that are led by volunteers that are able to lead one of these three free services that we focused on, that are conversation circles, bite-sized sessions, and tandem learning sessions. But we thought that maybe there was a problem of access to those services, or maybe engagement, because we kind of realized that maybe there were not a lot of students or even people from the LSE community that were benefited from that. So we tried to see if that was what was happening, and we tried to actually see at these two factors. One, how is the access to the free services at the LSE Language Center, and also what are the engagement vis-a-vis those services. And for that, we employed the methodology that Maria is going to tell you just now.
If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So in order to reply to our research question, we decided to conduct a survey across the LSE community, since all of the community is eligible to participate in these free peer-led language services. So the survey we ran was from the end of March to the end of April, and we managed to gather 227 participants. from all the LSE community. We had a very strong response from students and especially postgraduate students, but we also managed to get replies from professional service staff or from faculty members. They came from a wide variety of departments at the LSE. We have representatives from health policy, mathematics, geography, history, but it's true that there is a strong representation from students from the European Institute, since both Lois and I, we are doing a master's degree at the European Institute. In order to gather these participants, we follow several recruitment strategies. Official channels such as sending an email through the LSE Language Center or LSE departments proved very helpful, but also informal channels such as student WhatsApp groups were very helpful to reach out to participants. And now Lois will present the key findings of the data collected through the survey.
Yeah, so if you go to the next slide, we are going to see the key findings. One important result or one important figure that we wanted to analyze was, of course, if indeed there is a desire among the LSE community in terms of learning or improving foreign languages. And indeed, the vast majority of the LSE community, as you see, 96%, reported that they were at least at some point interested in learning or improving foreign languages. So then we try to focus on these two questions, one in terms of access and potential barriers to access these services, and one related to engagement. In terms of the main barriers that we found when people from the LSE community try to access those services, were the lack of awareness of their existence. Actually, 40% of LSE members have never heard about these free services. There are, as I said, conversation circles, bite-sized speaking, and tandem learning. And this figure rises to 67%, if we control for LSE, what we call LSE language center population. So that is respondents that actually accessed the survey via an email received by the LSE language center or its Moodle page or a volunteer leading some of these sessions, because of course this distinction is important, because those who are recruited via this means that they are more likely to be involved in the LSE language center, and therefore they are more likely to be more aware of these services compared to people to the whole population, LSE population. Sorry. And this problem of awareness was especially important for postgraduate students. As you can see, their undergraduate students are more likely to know about these services. 88% of them know about it, but indeed both PSS and postgraduate students are less likely to know. And even when among these people that they know about this existence, 25% of them, they didn't know that they were eligible to take part on these services. So that's a second barrier important to address. And in terms of the second factor that we analyzed, that was engagement. We indeed found that engagement levels are quite low. Especially, this is a problem, especially in relation to tandem learning and bite-sized speaking, which almost 80% and 90% of respondents stopped attending after just a first session. However, usually people are very largely satisfied with the services. Satisfaction levels are around 80 to 90% in conversation circles and tandem learning, while these figures decreases a bit for bite-sized sessions. So based on these results, Maria and I are going now to propose some policy recommendations.
Yes, if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So based on the findings that Lois has just presented, and if we go back to our initial research questions, which are the factors that affect access to and engagement with the services, we have come up with two different policy recommendations that we would like to target to the LSE Language Center, since this is the vehicle for these peer-led free language resources. The first one wants to address access barriers. And since the main one was the lack of awareness of both the existence and the eligibility to these services, we would like to recommend to the Language Center to review its communication and promotion strategies, to diversify its channels, to make sure they reach the LSE community, and especially that they reach postgraduate students and professional service staff where the problem seems to be more acute, as Lois just presented. And the second recommendation is targeted to address low engagement levels. And so we will recommend the Language Center to promote the collection of direct feedback from the users after the sessions to see where are the problems, where are they stopping to attend the sessions. And especially is particularly relevant for bite-sized speaking, where we saw that the problem is also more relevant. So we would like to thank you for your time, and we hope that our research can be useful to make more use of these services that are very good in bringing the LSE community together, and that we can benefit from our international backgrounds. So thank you very much.
Thank you.